Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of M.E.R, Men's Equal Rights. Today, we'll be tackling the tough subjects of child support and how it affects visitation and the choices of child support when it comes to visitation. Does child support and visitation with a child's father mean the same thing? And if a child is not able to see his father because of his father's bank account, is that right? Today, we'll have a very special guest on to tell his story. But before we go any further, let's welcome our panelists, the one and only John Rockmore. Hey, John. We need you to unmute yourself, John, and come on in there.
You know what? I had this nice thing to say, which I always do, but good evening, Mr. Lionel. How are you, sir?
Good evening, John. How are you today?
I am blessed every day and in every way, not because of me, but despite me sometimes.
Absolutely. How is it being a father? You spoke to the kids today?
I did. I spoke to one of my daughters and some grandchildren, and hung out with my son at the park. So, amen. Of course, the boy, he's with me now, so that's not new. I just want to spend some time with the boy. But I spoke with my daughter. She's trying to start a business, so it's always exciting, and I'm always happy to talk to them or lay eyes on them, no matter what.
Absolutely, and it is a blessing. I could only wish that I was as blessed to be able to spend time with my children. I haven't seen them in 7 years, and what we're talking about today will touch on that subject, and it is because they want the top tier child support. That's one of the things that they do in family court. In order to get the highest level of child support, they keep the father absent. As we move forward, we're going to move forward excited about this guest whose story we're about to hear today. He's had many struggles with child support situations, seeing his children, and I know his story personally, and it's time that he shares his story with the globe and the audience of M.E.R. I'd like to, without further ado, bring to the stage one of my mentors in comedy, an amazing comedian that I've worked with for over 20 plus years, also producer, actor, writer, one of Hollywood's great comedians that I think is underrated. Today, he's here to share his story of being a father and his experience in family court. Please welcome to the forum, Shane.
Oh, hey. Can everything cool?
Hey, Shane.
Hey, man.
My brother. And thank you for coming on M.E.R, Men's Equal Rights, to share your story.
Yeah.
It's a big problem, Shane. Many men suffer in silence, but you and we chose to speak out. And today you get an opportunity to tell your story.
Right.
Tell us what your experience has been in family court, dealing with visitation and child support issues. Where did it all begin, Shane?
When she decided that she was the number one pertaining to the child, instead of both of us being, equally, we should be a half and a half, and it's not. And then also there's just the back and forth, the amount of money that the lawyers want, they want. Yeah, you got to have $5,000. Like, what, do I have to go out and kill somebody to get this money? It's
right.
Yeah, that's what it's at that point. So I've been back and forth. I went back and forth in court multiple times with both my sons. Right now, my son is up in San Jose. I haven't seen him for about 9 months, almost 10 months. My youngest, my oldest, I end up finally, after years and years of bull. I caught myself. See, Evan, I caught myself. You know what I was going to say? A lot of it, because I think that there's this automatic corrupt mentality in the court system that assume that the woman should be all seeing, all knowing, and all owning of everything, and then be compensated for their corruptness. And so I dealt with that. And luckily I had a couple of battles I won, because when the people that you're dealing with are so bad, they couldn't paint it any other way. They couldn't pull a Trump impeachment to he really didn't do it. They couldn't pull that. But and also the poisoning of the child, people don't realize carrying it back and forth in court makes the child go through all kind of stuff. And my son started being really acting out, and why can't you just live in the same building and you both live together and on the same different parts of the house? And when I would say, no, that'll never happen, well, I hate you. And then she would never check him. And in other words, he would kind of condone that, And so, I mean, that part is what kind of tore me up for a long time. Now I don't let it rip me apart as much. Now I'm like, okay, eventually I'm going to win. Eventually I'm going to my son's going to come to a conclusion to know that I'm here. And there's a brother named Zoe Williams that I learned from. You know Zoe?
No.
Yes, definitely know who Zoe is, radio personality.
You don't like to do what I asked.
And I was unaware of him experiencing any situation in family court. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, he schooled me. He said sometimes you got to be a mountain, and you got to just be there and continue to be solid and be the mountain, and let the kid know that you are here no matter what, and whatever way. And also, where I would constantly try to call, because I had to call to talk to him through her. So it was always something. He's in the bathroom. He's eating dinner. He's this. So she could say She could say that I answered the phone. She could say she didn't. Couldn't act like she didn't answer the phone. But for some reason, I could never get through to him. So
okay, let me interject, Shane.
No, please.
In the very beginning, let's start with your firstborn. Okay,
right.
I know the situation.
Right, with Cameron. Yeah.
With Cameron. Tell me when the problems began. Like, you're an excellent father. I can attest to that personally. And anyone who knows you knows that you're an excellent father and your children are your number one priority.
Right.
Being an excellent father and your children being your number one priority, why then would you have difficulty with 50-50 now custody as we fight for on men's equal rights? 50-50 now custody is what we ask for. And that's something that should be automatic because we made the baby 50-50. So where did your troubles begin, Shane? You had Cameron, and what happened?
It was a money thing. She wanted, be real with her. She wanted money. She wanted money. And well, you can rock with your son if you give me money, basically. And so, wow. Yeah. So I was like, yo, we ain't gonna have no more conversation. We're gonna talk in court. And that was a mistake. Even though I won 2 times. I won 2 times back to back. But it was like the amount of money it took me from doing show after show. And, you got to have a place for them to live, that you have social services come over to your house and walk through your house. And, if they see something that's out of place, you lose, So that was where I started having the problems. And then we went to court the first time when he was 5, and then the second time when he was 11. So, yeah.
When you say you won, what did you win?
Where the judge said it was 50-50, but there was still a lot of, like, even though you can win in court and it still not work out. You can win in court and you still don't get to see the child as much as you want to.
Okay, so explain that. Break that down. You won in court. You said you got 50-50 custody. Right. And what happened? How did you start?
Now with Cameron, it was more. It was more for me. It was I end up because as comics we work at night. I had him all day, and he would be with me, and when I go do shows, he'd be with her. But and it was more. I had more drama with my youngest than I did my oldest, because my oldest, he got to a point where he was like, "Nah, I want to kick it with Dad." And the second time, when he said it in court, that's when it tilted my way.
So he was allowed to come to court to testify.
Right.
How did it get from you being awarded 50-50 custody? And let me explain this to the audience. A lot of people think once they make a baby, then it's automatic. It is not. When you sign a birth certificate, what you're doing is signing on to a third party that has a say-so in your child's life, and that is the government. The moment you sign the birth certificate, you're signing a contract with the government that says that if in any case you cannot raise this child responsibly or not, we can step in and get involved and take the child. That's why you have to go to the particular United States courthouse and settle your differences concerning your children, because you signed a birth certificate that invited the state into their lives. And a lot of people don't know that. So you have to petition the court for 50-50 custody.
Right.
And that is what you had to do, Shang. Even though you and her made the baby, Cameron was not 50-50 yours until you went to the court, correct?
It was not, officially 50-50. It was not officially 50-50. And also, people don't realize you have to pay for lawyers. It's a grip. I mean, it's not, everybody think, oh, well, you know what, you just give them a couple $100 and no, it's thousands and thousands. I'm like, I love my son, but I ain't gonna sell a kidney to be with this little dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a grip. I was like, when I saw how much it was, like, I was like, what is that? $8,000 I'm out? Oh, and then to go back in court, and then especially with my little one, because once we get, like, the mediator came in, you got to rock out with that. You got to pay for stuff. You got to pay for this, pay for that. And then we couldn't come to an agreement because of holidays. Well, I want Halloween, and I want Easter, and I want Christmas. And even though the mediator is saying, you ain't gonna get that. They ain't gonna give you that. What are you talking about? They ain't gonna give you all of it. You gotta have to mix years. So once we don't agree, you gotta go in court. $2,000 right off the bat, out of your pocket right there. And then this wild, I went over to pay my lawyer, and I walked past his kitchen. He said, you like the new kitchen? You bought it. I went, whoa. Yeah, he says, you know what that is? That's marble. Because my lawyer was, I don't know if y'all can tell he was gay. And he was like, it's marble. And thank you. Like, what?
And so let me ask you this, Shang, and be honest. Why were you paying all this money? Was this to see your own flesh and blood, your own child? Why couldn't you just see your own child? Why did you have to go pay strangers thousands and thousands of dollars just to see your own son?
Because the mother of my child wanted to not only have full custody, but for me not to see my child at all. And so I was like, and wanted to move to back to Jersey. And I was like, I ain't having it. We ain't gonna rock that way. What we gonna do is, I end up getting a restraining order on him. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm like, you can go to Jersey, but you can't go with him. So
who did you get a restraining order on?
No, not where you can do it where you can have just the child can't go. When the other parent wants to take the child somewhere else.
Oh, so you got an order from the court that said she cannot remove him from the state or the jurisdiction.
Right. And that's why she pulled some slick stuff, and she's in San Jose, California, which is still California.
Yes.
So it's still the state. And, but I mean, at the same time, my attitude now, because I went through so many tears, so much frustration, wanted to go up to the court and stab everybody in the face. And I mean, like lawyers, the judge in the face. And you can't, then I'm going to be in jail, and I couldn't, nobody. But now I'm really calm about it. I mean, I talked to my son off and on the phone. And now, I can see she's definitely put her footprint on him where he's acts a certain way. But I just know that as he gets older, he knows I'm that dude, and he's going to rock with me.
So this is the money, all of this legal money that you're spending in court. How much, just an estimation or guesstimate over all the years, Shang, how much have you put into the court just because you want to see your son and be a good father personally and actively in your son's life?
I want it, without static. You got to understand.
From the very beginning, Shang.
Total about $19,000.
Well, that's pretty low. I gotta say, that's pretty low.
19,000 total. And then add the other stuff, maybe 22, 23. But I'm telling you right now, even if you pay, even if you do it, there's always something else. And the person that you're dealing with, you got to constantly go back and forth, and you do one thing wrong, well, I'll see you in court.
Wow.
You
Why
know?
do you think she didn't want you to see your children, Shane?
Because she wanted him to just love her
She wanted him to just love her.
and not.
Did she put you into the child support system, or did you put yourself into the child support system?
I took both of them to court. Because they tried to pull some slick stuff. They tried to pull some slick stuff.
What was the slick stuff?
Sending me a notice saying if you give me $700, you can have custody a month. You can have custody. You know, just slick stuff. And
so her objective was to use your son to just milk you for money. Your son was a pawn being used to get money. Is that what you're saying?
Initially, and then it was like when the thing that helps is once the child gets enough awareness to know that you're not the bad guy. You didn't stab her with a spoon in the forehead, and all the stuff that's made up about you and saying you're this, you're that. And I think that's the only thing that helped me is once they get awareness, like, nah, Dad didn't do that. Yeah, he didn't hit me in the head with a skillet when I was over there. What are you talking about?
Are you saying they painted the narrative that you were an abuser? They tried to paint the narrative in court that you were an abuser and a bad guy in order to keep you out of his life?
Part of it. And part of it was, like, I'll give you some example with her lawyer was saying that, well, he writes his car off and he should give us that money. It was constantly that. And I was like, and the judge, he did say some gangster stuff. He said, well, that's how he gets to his gigs. He's allowed to write it off. That's part of his job, and shut it down. And the reason that happened is because my lawyer jumped up, Scotty, gangster. He's a gangster. I had a gang, and he's very effeminate, but he's gangster. He said, that's how he gets to his shows. That's how he gets to his shows. What do you mean? And so the judge agreed. So I had different judges each time with both boys. And as the court, as they saw us over and over again, which is grand after grand after grand, the judge kind of realized, she's kind of crazy. And so that helped me. That helped me. So I can't say, like, right now, I miss my son. I miss my son desperately, but I'm in a different space, honestly, Evan. I'm in a space where it's like, yo, man, I'm dead. If you do all you can do, I'm saying to all the men, you do all you could do. You gave it your all, and the court, you're going against a system that is constantly tilted towards women, and you gave it your all. Stop beating yourself up. You gave it your all. You know what I'm saying? And now I have a different attitude. I don't give up. But I'm not crushed like I used to be. Like I used to be, it would ruin my day, it would ruin my week. It ruined the relationship I was in because she had to deal with me constantly back and forth in court, the back and forth. They also tried to use that I was doing child abuse. They tried that, the child abuse where I had to deal with that. And I literally was taping my special, came back from taping my special thinking, I got to meet with the Attorney General of Los Angeles on a possibility of going to jail.
Because they made the false allegations that you committed some sort of child abuse. And what was it? Do you mind me asking? That they tried to accuse you of?
That I was being physically abusive to him.
Like beating your son is what they were saying.
And
as they try to
times.
act like when we spank our children, they try to turn that into abuse.
Exactly.
Right. If we were abusing our children by spanking them with our hand or with a belt, what was our parents doing to us to get us in line?
Well, my parents, they should have been in jail. But I was bad though, so I can't even front. I was horrible. I was horrible.
You know what I'm saying, Shane.
They tried. No,
your son.
But no, I really didn't, because I I listened to my lawyers, I listened to everything, but this is the thing. By the third time that it got thrown out, it got thrown out, it got thrown out. They did all this investigation. They talked to a bunch of people. Then it was, oh, well, it's, well, his big brother did it, because she knew they couldn't do it to me, because we were sitting in with with 2 psychologists, 5 people from the social services, and they told her, which was, I thought was thug. They said, if you continue to accuse him of this, we're not going to remove the child from his home. We're going to remove him from your home, because you brought us in here multiple times and not one of them has worked out in your favor. Not one.
So her objective was to continue to accuse you of wrongdoing and
Right.
child abuse, beating your child in order to stop you from seeing your child. And she failed at every attempt of false allegations. Was she ever charged with anything for constantly accusing you falsely and costing the system all this money and attacking your reputation and attempting to defame you constantly and label you as an abuser? Was she ever held accountable, Shane?
No. And that's never the case. If you look at most of the cases, and I'm not exaggerating, 9 out of 10 times, they don't do nothing to the woman.
So what you're saying is women are allowed to make all sorts of false allegations and to cost the court system a lot of money. You have to hire an attorney. So I've been there too, where I've had to hire an attorney based on false allegations and have had to pay a $10,000 retainer in order to prove her false allegations are just that, false allegations.
Right.
It gets thrown out by the district attorney, or they have a hearing and I'm acquitted completely on all charges. And then the woman my ex was caught in the act. They said, ma'am, you created this evidence that you're trying to use against him. And she admitted it on the stand. She was caught red-handed lying. Her attorney was caught red-handed lying in the court in front of the entire courtroom. And nothing happened to anyone, but they were ready to send me to jail based on these false allegations.
Right, and that's what happens. Most of the time, no matter how good the dude is, you could come in with angel wings and spreading cure cancer dust, and they still would be like, well, it's probably the guy. They blame the man most of the time. But I got to say, in my situation with both my sons, even though right now my youngest, he's definitely tainted. He's definitely got this attitude that, that is definitely from her. I mean, that's the truth. But
what attitude?
Like where he's still fighting through the bull that was indoctrinated in him. He's still fighting that. He still has this perception of me that's not the fact. And I just got to roll with it. Before I used to force myself on it. And now I'm like, nah, man, look, I'm cool. I'm cool.
So she was trying to distort his view of his father and make
right. But that works in court.
The bad guy.
That works in court. That works in court every time. It works in court. And what happened was, by the time, and even with my older son, by the time he was old enough to speak for himself, there's nothing you can say. Because it's direct. So any guy, when the child wants to speak up, and my son was mad cool. He's like, look, I love my mom, but I kind of rock with my dad. And it wasn't even like I was past the point of dissing her. I'm past it. It ain't about you. It's about us both having equal time with our child that we created. Unless you created this child in a manger, it was both of us. So I don't know what you thinking. So, but I mean, it worked out. I want to have this. I don't want to come on here and say that everything was bad, because I did have a good lawyer. I had the second lawyer, not as good, but my lawyer with my youngest was gangster. He was a thug, and I didn't feel like stabbing him in the forehead with a spoon.
Why did you have to, Shane? Why did you, first of all, stabbing somebody in the forehead with a spoon is something that men's equal rights don't subscribe to.
Okay, all right.
Just let it be known
Put
to
it
the
out
public
there. I'm just
that Shane is a comedian. And
yeah. I'm not stabbing
in
nobody with a spoon.
joking manner to lighten up the
Yeah, because it can get real dark, and so and
however, what we're saying here at Men's Rights is, and what Shane is actually saying is that it is wrong for people to commit false allegations in a court of law and not be held accountable. It is wrong for someone to try to stop a good father from having 50-50 custody with their children so that he can see the child and get his time with the child, just like the mother receives their time with the child. And it actually is something that's pretty common in the courthouse, that they give men every other weekend and then, one holiday a year or 2 holidays a year. Shane, you were quite fortunate with your first child.
right,
in
that was.
You said you had Cameron most of the day, every day.
No, I had Cameron I had him the most of the time, and it wasn't like.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't like it. The fact that we shouldn't even had to go to court, because I thought that we had already squashed this. But I mean, you're not gonna just, take custody. That ain't gonna happen. And so, but it was way worse with my second. Way worse. A lot of tears, a lot of frustration. And I'm not saying I don't want to condone. I'm not saying I was joking everybody when I said stabbing people with a spoon. Obviously, I ain't stabbing nobody with a spoon, but it's so frustrating when you see how tilted it is toward the moms. It is so frustrating when you see how they could say the most outlandish, crazy falsehood, and it's seen as valid. And that was driving me a little nutty. And what happens after a while is the child start going, well, I love my mom, and my mom said it, so it must be true because it was my mom saying it. And so, and even though they were just with you, but I think that men, there is some hope, but you got to be a mountain. You can't go nowhere. You got to be like, yo, you know where a mountain is. You know where I ain't going nowhere. So, but right now, man, in my situation, I wish I could say that, I'm tortured. I'm not no more. I'm like, yo, I did my thing. Some things you just got to go. I did my thing. I love my sons. They know I love them. That is it. And no matter how much crazy, how much stuff can be said, how much you want to take the child away and everything, when a child gets older, and I realized that too, my brother told me that, but his daughter, when she got older, she's like, they're going to seek you out. They're going to know what's up? And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm like, look, you a man now? Yo, your mom's was a window licker. Okay. Your mom's ate crayons, and because she thought orange was really the taste of orange.
And you know what, Shane? In many cases, your case is not unfamiliar with this forum, and it shouldn't be unfamiliar with the country or the globe. We're trying to wake people up to this situation. What Shane is saying is something that sounds all too familiar with fathers. Saying that I it's the same thing over and over and over again, thousands and thousands and thousands of men.
Well, I've talked with EL, and I've talked with a bunch of fathers, because I joined fathers groups. I did all of that because I was like, I need some other brothers to talk to, because I'm a little crazy. And I was getting to a point where
we can see that, Shane.
Yeah, it was gonna get to the point where somebody gonna get hurt. Somebody gonna get hurt over this, because I was that serious about it. And I think that talking with you and seeing how people can paint pictures that aren't the picture, you know what I'm saying? But the courts actually condone that.
Yes.
And people think it's sometimes it's the mom or it's the pops. It's not just the mom and pops. It's the court too.
Yes.
The court. It's the system. They say, we are here to milk you. And my lawyer told me, he said, family court is a mother. And And I didn't say the rest because we keeping it clean. But
Right.
family court's up as a mother.
Family court is making them billionaires. It's a
So much money.
multi-billion-dollar business. And what Shang is sharing is how it works in family court. There's no way that a man who just wants to be a good father to his children, which is what Shang is, which is what I am, which is what John Rockmore is, and everyone else who's a part of the forum, they just want to be good parents to their children. The court is using this to make money.
A lot of money.
In addition to that, it's not in the best interest of the child because Shang, even though you received your son 50-50 custody and you had him during the daytime, and I'm talking about your first son.
And my little one after a while, but then then after court it got crazy.
Child support payments.
No.
You still had to pay the same thing as if the child wasn't with you?
No, I was in my situation, it was once you get the 50-50, before that I was paying above and beyond with my youngest. Because I was like, long as I get to see him, it's almost extortion. I know that sounds crazy. It's like it doesn't. It doesn't sound crazy? Okay. Well,
no, it doesn't.
That's what it is. It's extortion.
It sounds like, I use the word extortion, but in my situation with both my sons, once you get the 50-50, you have to equally pay your portion and her portion. So I didn't have to deal with the child support directly. And also the situation is when one parent declines, then you don't have to pay it. So in my situation, because before we went to court, I was just paying a grip because I thought, I just want to be around my kid. And then I found out later, I was like, yo, you was paying too much. But
wow.
Never.
How did you find that out? How did you find that out? Don't go
once I got the lawyer, because I was, once I got the lawyer, he says, how much?
So you felt you were being robbed. Something didn't seem right. You just want to see your kids. You're paying this grip of money. You get an attorney, and all of a sudden, you don't have to pay as much money.
Right, because it's once they look at the numbers, and I wasn't thinking about the numbers. I was just thinking about I want to be around my kid. But right now, man, I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of men I've talked to. I've talked to EL. I've talked. There's a lot of comics that got to deal with this craziness. And there's a perception that women think, well, you were on HBO, so you got money. Like, it ain't like that. It ain't like that. So my main thing right now is just the mental welfare of the kid is what was emphasized to me more than what she dealing with, me getting mad about it. Because I try to never be mad around him. Never mad around him. Never mad. I'm never wild out about her around him. Even though I was like, I'm dealing with an active villain in my life. I never, and like on some like Thanos, like, yo, I mean, we got a jumper. Like
active
type
shooter.
Yeah, like some, no, that's real. I mean, but I just feel like now it's about relating to the child. I mean, the money, of course, we gotta focus on that too, but it's related to the child. And even if you ain't around the child, when you do get the chance to be around the child, just tell them the real and say you was there and you were down and I loved you. And because I didn't get to see you, it wasn't because I didn't love you. It's because I had to fight. You don't want to necessarily, go at the moms, but when you talk to the child, I think you got to just be like, look, me and your mom didn't agree on a lot of, you know what I mean? And the court system, be real with them. The court system has a tendency to sometimes not want the father to see the child. So that's why. So don't ever think it was me. Never think it was me. And I make sure that that's clear. I'm going to make sure with my youngest that's clear. And my oldest guy, he got it now. Because my oldest son is 23 now. And he's clear as a bell on it. Because he's seen.
And how old is your youngest?
12.
Okay, at this time, I'm sure we have questions out there from the public and we have questions from our panelists. So we're going to open the floor up to John Rockmore because he seems eager to get in there. John, go ahead and ask Shane what it is that you have have on your mind, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Multiple things. I'm gonna try to be quick. I have a bunch of questions. Number one, it does seem, and because I don't want you to put information out there that would even make further conflict, but it does seem that even to this day, listening to your story, that the Kool-Aid is she's still pouring the cup in the Kool-Aid to see if she can poison about daddy.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And I think that those things go on, and I'm only going by my experience. Those things go on because if it changes and you aren't the monster, then what does that make me? And so they want to keep that poison that, well, he did this, he did that, even until they're 23 years old. But even to now, that a little bit of that goes on.
I agree. I mean, no, wow, that's 1,000. I think that EL is dealing with it actively, and that's wild. You call it an active shooter. That's real. No, that's real.
It's almost accurate, correct?
But when they get older, man, they ask questions. And my son started asking questions. It's like, yo, why was this? Why was that? Why was she saying that? And then once he understand it's real, then you like, hey, and I never say, yo, don't rock with your moms. Rock with your moms, but rock with your moms knowing what's the truth.
Yeah.
And so fighting the court, there's a certain point where you got to just focus your energies at the kid as best you can. But when you get it blocked from you, when you can't see the child, it makes it so hard. And right now, I don't have the upper hand, but I'm just going to I'm going to get that poison out of him. If I'm going to get that poison out of him.
Let me interject for a second, John. We also had a question from Jeff Brown. What was the question from Jeff Brown?
Where's Jeff at?
Jeff is tuning in. He's not on air with us. He did have a question or a comment. Well, while we're bringing those different questions up, John, look for the questions that come in from our viewers. Shane, what you mentioned was about the Disso Master. Did they, and the Disso Master, for the public that's listening, is what child support does. They have a chart called the Disso Master. They look at how much you make, and from this, they determine how much you should be paying in child support. That's why when you go into family court, the first thing out their mouths, the first question out of their mouths is, how much do you make for a living? Because they're trying to determine if you're married, what they're gonna take themselves and how much money they can make on this particular case. In addition to that, they're deciding how they're going to split your assets and your things up, as opposed to you two.
That sounds like the mafia.
It's they're the senior partner in the agreement, Shane. That's why you sign a marriage license with the state, because you're signing in with the state saying you are the third party to our marriage. And what people don't know is that third party gets to decide what happens to all your assets. Once you go to the court and sign that license with the state, then it invites them into your marriage as a partner. And that's why you have to go to see them to dissolve the partnership, because they're also a part of it, and they got to get theirs and you got to get yours.
But anybody that's listening, it just sounds like a extortion racket. It sounds like the court is like, hey, if we can get them to keep paying. If they keep fighting, they keep coming into our court, we get the money, they get the last part, and we shut up and we go buy Rolls Royces and islands while they're fighting over the kid. That's
exactly.
It sounds like the mob.
It is that, Shane. It is.
Come on, man.
That's exactly what it is.
The judges are in on it. The judges are in on it. I know that sounds bad. The judges are in on it. I think some of the attorneys that know the judge and the judge knows them, like, hey, guy, maybe you could kick me down a few.
It's a racket. At least your attorney was honest with you and saying, Shane, thank you for financing my new kitchen. He was honest with you. They come up on family court. Family court is a place to bring disputes for them to make billions of dollars. It's big business, folks. That's what I'm trying to get you to see.
And that business
we're pawns in that big business.
They don't care about your feelings. They don't care about your love for your child. They don't care about that. And I think that when men go in with that mentality to understand, they really don't care about fairness. And we actually are in a world where we actually think fairness still matters. They don't care. So you got to,
I don't even think that they give
Mr. Rockmore.
I don't even think that they give it that much thought. They don't even see the people. It's just an ends to a meme, because otherwise they would almost have to have feelings. They don't care about, like you said, they don't care about who's in the courtroom or what they said. Now, they do know that this is the process. You know, I have to paint him. I have to paint him no matter what. I got to paint him because that's how we keep our thing going. So I got to paint him in the corner because they tried. It seems like they tried to paint you as a bad guy. And let me say this for sure.
Right.
And this is sad because your story is terrible, but yet you are probably one of the success stories that we've ever had on the show.
I am. And Evan knows I am absolute success story. Even though right now my son is up in San Jose and I love him. I love him to death. He's like if they made a clone of me, and it freaks me out sometimes when I look at pictures of him and go, dang, that's me. And so, but I think that I am a success story to a point, but it was a lot of tears, a lot of frustration, a lot of loot. I was doing gigs I hated because I was like, dude, I got to pay these people. Like I would do one-nighters like, yeah, I need to go get this $200. And I'm thinking I'm gonna buy something for the house or something. Nope. It went straight to the lawyer.
The attorney.
And people think I'm lying. People think I'm lying when I say they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money. A friend of mine said, no, they don't. It's not about that.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. The courts make a lot of money.
Because she actually got a quarter or so of the money you actually submitted to the court. She doesn't get it all. They take out fees and all this other stuff. But I do have something that's really profound because you had said that you were at peace, you know, and I would like for you to let our viewers know how you got to that place where you were at peace so that you could move forward. Because that is an important part. Because like you said, it's so frustrating, you know, and you want to joke, but at the end of the day, you're like, well, okay, what am I going to do here? Are you guys kidding me? Because it's your child. You're not supposed to have a sense of humor when it comes to your blood that you did help make, right? So how did you come to that place where you're at peace and you're like, you know what? I'm going to let this stuff, I'm going to be Superman and let this thing kind of deflect and stay focused on the child.
Right. End of the day. And I know Evan is, I'm just being real. I know right. Evan goes through it. I know there's a lot of brothers going through it. Me and Evan have talked about it. He's going through it. Like, and that's the way I put it. When I say going through it, you know what I mean by that, Evan, don't you know what I mean? But you're going through it. And I just saw myself just constantly being more depressed, more like, yo, am I ever going to get through this? And then, even though I hadn't seen my son for a while, I hit him up. I said, end of the day, dude, you know I love you. And no matter what goes on, you know it. And it was cool finally. And I mean, because he's been a headache, trust me. And that is from the stuff that he's getting, the venom that he's being put in him. He says, I know you're my dad. I know you love me. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna rock with that. And
well, there are two things. As a matter of fact, Jeff Brown chimed in again, and he said
we have him.
They're processing peons for money in court. They're using the fathers as peons to get money, and that is correct. In your situation, Shane, you said you were paying a lot of money on your own, which Jeff Brown, that's why he's chiming in, because he was doing the same thing. And then he actually took it to court like you did. And the when they did the Dissomaster, Jeff Brown ended up paying $17 a month. I believe $17, whereas he was giving her a whole bunch of money on his own. And then she went to the people thinking she gonna get more money because of who he is. And she actually got less. Same thing happened.
Why are we laughing about that? But I was like, I feel like, yeah.
Yes. Well, the same thing happened with Teddy Riley. You're going to go to these strangers and try to pull them in to destroy my life. And it doesn't always work to your advantage, ladies, when you on the come up and you got a good man and a good father in your life that just wants to take care of his child and spend time with his child. And you're plotting and playing with that child's life as well as with that man's life. And you go to court and you file, and then you find out that you're not going to get, that man was giving you over and above and beyond. So what happened, Shane? You were paying her over and above and beyond. You hired an attorney And was it half the amount you were paying? Was it 3/4 the amount? What did the judge say you should actually be paying?
It was a combination of everybody. I found all of the information, and because I was like, look, we ain't together no more. I'll continue to pay your car payment. I'll continue to pay your car insurance. I'll continue. We did it that way, but if you add it up, it was a grip, and no, it was a quarter at best.
A quarter.
At
Wow.
best. At best. And
Wow.
you know what though? But again, it's weird that I am the success story, and it messed up years of my life. I literally, I know I wouldn't have as much blood pressure. I know I wouldn't have gained weight. I've lost weight now, but I gained weight out of stress.
No.
I'm serious. It was stress. It wasn't like people thought, oh, was it because you were sad because you weren't with her? Not at all. Keep it moving.
No.
People always try to act like it's because of her. No, it's about my son. It was never about her. It was never like, if you gonna bounce, bounce, but it ain't got nothing to do with what we gonna do with this kid.
With the
And I
baby.
think, it had nothing to do with it. So people that assume that about me, they were wrong. They didn't know. People don't realize if you're going through drama, sometimes if you don't say nothing, if you at a comedy club, you telling jokes, and they don't know that you're going through drama with back and forth with your kid, back and forth trying to, and then when her guy came into play, it made it worse. And then
How so?
because obviously it was their unified front to try to act like I'm the psycho. And I'm a wild boy. I ain't gonna act like I'm not, but I'm not a wild boy I wasn't a wild boy when it came to her. And I wasn't a wild boy when it come to my kids. Aside from that, I absolutely. And it was funny. This is how creepy these dudes are. And they're creepy. They were trying to use what I say in my act.
Yes.
To establish that this is how, and I did have the second judge. The first judge was buying into it, and I was sitting there going, "Oh, I wish I had a little dart gun," but I could, But the second judge was like, "Again, that's his act. I'm sure the things he's saying, he pretty much never did."
Right.
But it took.
So you're saying they brought into court pieces of your
Yep.
Yeah,
so
they're not able to separate.
Did they go, hold on, John, hold on. Did they go on your Facebook and get these pieces? Did they go on the internet?
No.
What did they bring into court that showed your likeness?
The lawyer did it.
The lawyer did. And did he bring something from HBO? Where did this material come from, Shane?
It was a combination of different shows, and they had that all in the. It's weird reading that in a transcript, and you're going, "What? I didn't. Never did that with my kid. And when you kidding me?" And I had a joke about how ugly my kid was initially, because he was kind of different looking, and well, that's messes with the psyche of the child. No, unless he really looks like an aardvark. Then,
so wait a minute. You're saying they brought your nighttime concert, grown folks 21 and older, parental discretion is advised, into the courtroom to try to mix that in and say, this has to do with parenting skills.
Yes.
They were trying to say something is wrong with you earning a living as a comedian and saying what you say to grown people. They were trying to connect it to your child and the type of parent you would be to your child in a courtroom. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely, unequivocally. And it didn't work, because the first judge, I was like, oh, this dude really is believing this. But then we had to come back to court, and the second judge was like, I ain't having none of that. I got to admit, my lawyer was on point. He was like, how are you making that leap of logic? And that was basically, he was saying, how you gonna make that leap of logic? So, but again, I don't want everybody to feel like, there's some horrible stories out there, and mine was not nice, but mine was definitely more successful from a standpoint of, at least up until recently, seeing my son. Both.
How old are your children, Shay?
23 and 12.
23 and 12. And so you said until recently, are you not seeing the 12-year-old?
Yeah, because partially because of COVID, and then also she moved to San Jose.
And that's still in California. And last week we discussed jurisdiction. We had comedian Jeff Brown on, writer, comedian, and we discussed jurisdiction. And I let all the viewers know that in many cases you can't take the child out the jurisdiction of the court or out of the state. Well, if it's still in the state, then Shane can't say she took the child out of state.
Exactly.
But San Jose is like taking the child out of state. If you live in
Los Angeles,
South LA,
7-hour drive.
Exactly.
I would drive up there to hang out with him and see him. Then we would drive back, and then I would have to drive him back up there. And then I would say, well, can't he's old enough to fly? Well, I'm not taking him to the airport. So how's he gonna get to the airport? Wow. Check this out. I'll get in the car. You know, before I would be like, you want a battle bot. And when you said that piece, now I go, you know what? You ain't even worth me. I ain't trying to have blood pressure no more. I had high blood pressure. I was in the hospital off and on in 2019. I'm like, yo, I love my children. If somebody hurt them, I'm gonna die for them. But I'm going to die for them to protect them. But I'm not going to let y'all kill me. I'm not going to let y'all kill me. So I think the reason I came to peace with it, talking to some brothers, talking to some people online, again, Zoe Williams gave me the epiphany of all epiphanies about just being solid, focused. Also, my brother telling me that sometimes you're not going to get that time with them. You're going to have to wait till they're older where you can have a conversation with them, because that's when you miss some of that time. That's it. And you can't kill yourself over it. And I know a lot of fathers kill themselves. Well, I missed it. I missed that. Yo, man, you tried, you know, and watch when your daughters get older and they know you, and they find out Pops was cool. And he wasn't like, he never did that. He ain't never burned you with no cigarettes. Yeah. Now I'm joking, y'all.
Yeah.
But he didn't. I'm giving you some extreme.
Exactly.
He didn't do that. And then they realize that they will look at their other parent a different way. And I welcome that.
It's so unfortunate that this is commonplace, that children's minds are they're brainwashed.
Yes, it's brainwashed.
In many cases, they're brainwashed against good fathers, and they grow up hating and being very filled with anger about their fathers. And this is definitely not in the best interest of the children. The court knows it's going on. The woman knows it's wrong, but they continue to do that. And in many other cases, there are fathers. It's a small amount, but there are fathers who actually prejudice and brainwash the kids' minds against the mothers, which is crazy in itself. This is not a show to bash people. This is a show to bring people together in a forum and a support group manner, so that you can know that we are out here and we love our children. So if my children are tuning in, let me say this, that I love you. Your father is not absent. I've never abandoned you. I'm simply being kept away from you by great efforts made by the attorney your mother hired, the court system being corrupt, as well as your mother, unfortunately, caught up in her emotions. It is her that's got the ball rolling, and the court took it and ran with it. In Shane's case, and John's case, and all of our cases, we love to be in our children's lives every day, and we love being great parents to our children.
Right.
Amen.
Jeff Brown did chime in, and he said, Shane, that you can get a mileage agreement with the court. And then also your son, Shane, and this is for everyone out there to know, your son is now 12. At a certain age in California, I think it was told to me by Dwayne, one of our core group members, that at the age of 12, a child can decide where they want to live on their own and state that to the court and be allowed to live there. Right. So if your son wants to live with you, are you prepared for that?
Completely.
Without a doubt. We got to segue over because we love Jeff Brown. We love him. He's a great friend of the show. We do have Miss Edwanda White, and she had and since we're talking about wonderful fathers, she wanted to know, what is the real definition of a great father? And why do so many people have conflicting answers to that question?
Wow.
Because there are different answers to that question. So I'll start and then Shane will go to you. There is no one definition of a good father because fathers are individuals just like everybody else. But the components that would apply to a good father is A, he loves his children like he loves himself, and he would die for his children in a heartbeat, and he will do whatever he can to provide for his children, protect his children, and also to try to get them a better start in life than he had. And Wanda White is a good friend of mine, and she had an excellent father. May he rest in peace. That's what many of us dream about and desire. But a good father loves his children, and I know that's what Shane is. Go ahead, Shane, with what you think a good father.
I think a good father, like you said, I'm going to go back to the metaphor of being a mountain where you're solid, where they know that, you're solid and you get their best interest in mind, where you absolutely have their best interest in mind. You want them to succeed far more than you've ever succeeded. And so I think that being a good father is just being a solid, consistent, like a lighthouse in a storm, where, like, I know my sons can come to me and, like, because my oldest son had some problems recently, and he knows that I'm going to be the solid. Now, even though, because there's a comic and sometimes I'm a little buck wild, but when it comes to that, being solid. So that has been, like, my pops was cold blooded, and I actually have some of that in me, which I like, where it's like, nah, we don't care about all your feelings. Let's deal with the facts, and that helped me deal with a lot of stuff. I deal with death better because my pops was very, like, practical and factual about it, and instead of emotional. And I think I needed that from him because I was so out there. And I think that with my sons, I just want to be as, like, yo, Pops is on it with us. He may not have gotten, with his comics, well, you didn't get the HBO special, but he was down, like, for me, like 4 flat tires. And that's and not to take none of the other negative stuff I have in my life and put it on them. I found that makes it better, even with their moms. Real stuff. I mean, both moms, because I have 2 separate mothers and my children.
Right.
And I just feel like I think things and I feel things. And when we're around other comics, we may say stuff, but I never say that to them. And they'll never know. They'll never know.
Absolutely.
They'll never know. I'll never say that. I'll never say to my son X, his name's X. And I'll never say to him, or Xavier, I will never say your mom's a dirt bag and none of that.
Yeah.
Well, on this Shane, on this show, we don't even subscribe to any bashing of anyone. This is an uplifting show. And Shane, you are a good father, a great father. I know that personally. And as it always goes, time flies by on this show. I'd like to make sure that I invite you guys to join the M.E.R page, like and subscribe the YouTube page. Please subscribe to the YouTube page, as well as join the M.E.R page on Facebook Live. Shane, tell the people where they can reach you, and hopefully you can come back as a guest soon. Tell them how they can reach you.
Y'all could just go to my website, iamshang.com. You can check me out there. My social media just got hacked. So at least my IG and my Twitter and my bank account. So I've had, because my IG was attached. My IG and Twitter were attached to my bank account because I had I used my bank account to do Boost. So they got me good. But you can go to my website, iamshang.com, and it has all my information on it. Make sure you go there, sign up, make sure you sign up for it. And all you pops out there, yo, stop beating yourself up. We beat ourselves up so much because it didn't work out, the court this, the court that. They're going to be the evil they are. So don't let it seep into yourself, because I'd let it do that for a couple of years, but now none of that fazed me. As long as you're down there with your kid and you love your kid and they know you love them, that's all you could do. You can't, sometimes going crazy and thinking about all kind of wild stuff ain't gonna help you. But if you
Mm.
did solid and you love your kid, like my sons, they know the deal. You know the deal, and if you don't know the deal, you will know the deal.
Yes. Well, folks, before we go, I'd like Mr. Rockmore to tell them how they can reach him. Mr. Rockmore.
Yes, sir. As always, you can hit me at Rockmore Entertainment Group, and you can email me at john@rockmoreentertainment.com. Again, thank you, Mr. Shank, for coming in. It is absolutely a delight. Thank you all that have tuned in. Make sure you do share and or like and or subscribe with our YouTube and our Facebook platforms. We love you guys for attending. Mr. Evan.
Can I say
Well,
something real
thank
quick,
you,
Evan?
guys. Oh,
Evan,
go ahead.
I want to say this is a good forum, and I'm glad you taking the steps. All of y'all taking the steps. I see the whole crew to take the steps for having brothers, and I'm more of a success story, even though there was a lot of
Yes, you
bad,
are.
I'm more of a success story pertaining to my children. Still not good,
Right.
but it's better than a lot. This is a great forum, man. Don't you back up off this. Don't look at me,
Oh.
EL. You know what it is.
I hear what you're saying, Shane, and we're not going to let anyone bring us down. We're going
Yes.
global, and we'd like to say thank you, Shane, for being an amazing guest that you are and an amazing father. Thank you for standing up and speaking out and telling us your story.
Right.
We'd like to thank you all for tuning in to M.E.R, Men's Equal Rights. We thank you and we appreciate you and ask that you like and share and join the M.E.R page, the Men's Equal Rights page on Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube to Men's Equal Rights. My name is Evan Lionel. You can leave me a personal message at IG at Evan Lionel 2898, or you can leave me a message on Facebook. We appreciate you tuning in, and please don't forget to like and share on this forum of Men's Equal Rights.